no one owned water. Water is not a commodity. It's not a property. Water is a kupuna. Water is an akua. And the Ali'i's responsibility, or our responsibility, is really to steward that for future generations.
I started life as a scientist, as a climate scientist in front, as an oceanographer and a climate scientist. And my purpose, my hope, was to have an impact in the world. I went into the private sector and also in civil society organizations, as you said. And in all those experiences, I tried to engage the public, decision makers, CEOs, ministers, with the science and the engineering, the facts about water. And over time, I came to realize that water really speaks to the identity of people, to their most profound relationship with their landscape, with their home. And so I realized that any conversation about water would start with science and would end with story. The book is quite sweeping, as you said, and so I won't go through all the stages of it, but suffice it to say that many of the institutions, even those that are most abstract and that surround us today, from the political institutions of democracies and republics to the legal systems, to even, profound ideas like monotheism, have in their DNA the nature of our relationship with the landscape, and in particular, the nature of our relationship with water. And so the book tells that long story, which for 9,900 years was the dominant story of people on the landscape, until, and that's the final kind of maybe important segment in that story, we decide to replumb the planet in the 20th century. And that final milestone that has occupied the last 150 years has essentially separated us from water and from the nature of water, creating an illusion of control that is now breaking. The climate system is on the move again. We've caused that. And the way in which climate expresses itself is through water. And so that final chapter that tells the story of how we forgot about water is also the starting point for reconnecting with this force.
Our islands are an earth. The problems that we face in island ecosystems, terrestrial and marine, social, are all sort of contained examples of the problems that we experience around the planet. Our kupuna understood water is life, oleikawai. It is the most precious resource, the reason why we could have life, any form of industry, food, celebration is all connected to our access to wai. The word kanawai comes from wai, translated to law, and sort of our earliest relationships and in terms of access and prohibitions and protections were around water. When our ali'i began to codify their legal systems and structures in the 1840s, with the very first Kumukanavai of 1840, the Declaration of Rights of 1839, even in the Mahele itself, water was never a commodity, and it always maintained this public trust-like relationship that comes from our ancestral understandings that we don't own water. We don't create water. It's a gift for all of us, and we have to constantly understand that. We deified water because it provided life. And so there's so many precious relationships on a very small, intimate scale with your ohana to these larger scale systems in terms of how we're supposed to manage our resources that are all embedded in our kupuna's conception of water.
Let us not relent on putting pressure on the Navy to take responsibility for this and to even repay the people of Oahu for the cost of all these actions that now become necessary only because of this Red Hill fuel contamination. They have known for over a decade, maybe a couple of decades or longer, that this facility was not in good shape. They did studies about the dangers of this facility and the need to install a treatment system to protect their drinking water source, which is only about a quarter mile away from the fuel tanks. But they never actually took action. Our community needs water to thrive. Our economy needs water. Wai is a gift to our community. It is a fragile gift that is easily contaminated and spoiled. we need to take actions to protect this precious this resource. There is no substitute for pure water.